clearly, if you don't want to be skinny fat, there's two main things you need to do. Coach Greg, in today's video, it's all for the guys who are skinny fat. How do you go from being skinny fat to ripped? And when I say ripped, I'm not talking about bodybuilder ripped. I'm talking about 10 to 15% body fat. You know, something that's ideal for aesthetics, looking good, being healthy.
So bulking sucks, cutting sucks. What the fuck are we supposed to do with skinny fat people in order to get them in the kind of shape that they want to be in more than they are in now?
And so bulking sucks and cutting sucks. Both things, they suck. And so if there was only something you could do aside from bulking and aside from cutting that would allow you to get to that shredded physique, I wish I could put my finger on it. I can't think of what you possibly could do. I mean, I've never heard of main gain. I mean, why would anyone try to do something so silly as to main gain? But let's see what Mike says. And so the first thing we need to cover is what the heck skinny fat? I mean, there's mesomorph, endomorph, ectomorph. What the heck is skinny fat? Well, skinny fat is an ectomorph that's eaten too many burgers and fries in a calorie surplus and they've gotten fat. And so they're skinny as in they don't have a lot of muscle, but they're also fat at the same time. And so clearly, if you don't want to be skinny fat, there's two main things you need to do. You have to both add muscle and you have to reduce your body fat. You're skinny and you want to have more muscle, you obviously have to lift weights. You're going to have to go to the gym, progressive overload, which means to train harder than last time, and it's going to take some time. The fact that you're skinny fat means that you're probably an ectomorph, meaning it's harder for you to put on muscle than the majority of people. And if it wasn't so hard, you wouldn't be skinny fat in the first place. Think of it. If you're skinny fat, by definition, you have bulked. You've been eating in a surplus, and that's why I have extra body fat. If you weren't and were shredded already, you wouldn't have been in a surplus. And so when you really think about these things, you put your thinking caps on, you analyze this, you realize that people are skinny fat or people have been eating in a surplus, but it hasn't resulted in significant muscle mass. If their genetics were amazing, they would have already had some muscle. Think of it, natural. If you're eating healthy or in a surplus, you're exercising, you're not going to be skinny fat. You might still be fat, but you'd have some muscle underneath. And so what you need to do is to lower your expectations. I know you wanted me to say the opposite. Raise your expectations. Reach for the stars, and if you get the moon, fantastic. No, in this case, reach for the moon and get the moon and be happy with it.
Continue to lift hard or begin lifting nice and hard. Nothing crazy. 3-4 sessions a week is good for almost everyone at this stage.
And so as far as the training goes, Mike is making perfect sense. Train 3 to 4 days a week, depending on how you want to train it. Probably should train your entire body. My suggestion is to train each body part 2, perhaps 3 times a week. If you go for a full body workout the way I do, you can train 2 to 3 days per week. If you're splitting your body part into 2 halves, perhaps upper body one day, lower half the next, you can then train 4 days a week. But in essence, you're training the entirety of your body 2 times every single week. You start out easy, and over the course of the year, you're gradually going to train harder. Perhaps you could only bench press 95 pounds for 10 reps when you started, but by the end of the year, you're doing 150 pounds for 10 reps. You've gotten stronger. You've put on muscle. Remember, there are newbie gains to be had when you first start training. This is the most optimal time that you're going to put on muscle. And so take note and celebrate the difference you're making. You are going to see changes in strength much more quickly than changes in size. It takes a long time for your body to put on muscle. From week to week, looking in the mirror, you're not going to notice a significant increase in muscle. Think of it. Do you really think you can notice a half a pound muscle gain each and every week? If that were the case, you'd put on 26 pounds of muscle. And for someone who is an ectomorph, skinny fat, very unlikely you're going to put on 26 pounds of muscle in a year, unless, of course, you're on performance-enhancing drugs. And so, of course, if you don't know where to start, we have training books on my website, also a free diet and training program. This is not all about selling books. I have a free diet and training program. And so if you don't know what to do and you're skinny fat, customized close to 50 pages, free. I mean, what more would you ask for? You're watching this video, you're skinny fat, you want to put on muscle. I have a free training program for you. Oh, Coach Greg doesn't give us anything. And so if you're interested in that, go to the website, first and last name and email address. It's going to be free, coming straight to you. If you want to buy supplements and books and all that stuff, of course you can. Code Greg, 10% off. But this is free.
On the nutritional end, just try to make your diet nutritious and feed your muscles. Multiple meals a day of mostly healthy foods, and keep trying to hit like a decent amount of protein.
And as far as the diet goes, you don't need to track every single calorie. It's not about being perfect. It's about being better than you were. You need to eat protein. Start looking at your plate and saying, is there protein on this plate? What is protein? Add some chicken, some steak. Find things that have protein and eat them. And not just protein, have a balanced diet. Try eating from all the food groups. That's right, it includes fruits and vegetables. These are low calorie dense foods. They have a lot of fiber. They're more filling. Automatically, if you start training and you start eating healthy, you're naturally going to start slowly losing body fat. All the while, you're going to be slowly putting on muscle. And by the end of the year, guess what? You've literally maintained gain. You've improved your body. You might weigh the same. You started at 150 pounds, you ended at 150. But now your shoulders are bigger, your waist is smaller, your pants are fitting looser, and your arm sleeves, they're filling out. And is that not what you want? You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to track every single thing in MyFitnessPal. You can simply eat like a normal human being, have balance, go out when you want, eat appropriately, and over the year, you're going to make significant improvements due to the fact that newbie gains is in fact a real thing. It's backed by science, trust me. And as far as supplements go, I have tons of them, but guess what? Don't use any of them. I'm telling you, don't buy any. Why would you buy them? You just started working out. You can make these gains without anything that I'm saying. Save all these things that work for later. You don't need it when you're first starting. And so if you're a teenager, stop buying these things. You don't need my pre-workout, pump, stim. You don't even need GO2 Max. You don't need anything. Just start training, get better, and eventually, when you reach a plateau, when you're older, at that time you can add in the supplements, and then that will help you to further your gains.
What I would recommend doing that for is, I don't want to put too fine a point on it, but like basically a year.
And so over the course of that year, you're going to go from eating like an a-hole, which is typically fast food, junk, chips, pop, candy, all of that stuff, to now you actually care what you're putting into your body. It's amazing how much better you eat when you're training. People who don't give a shit about their appearance, their health, and so on, they just eat. They might eat candies before bed, junk food. They're eating fast food. They're ordering out. They just don't give a shit. But when you start going to the gym, you're much more likely to consider what you put into your mouth. And so you don't need a special diet. You don't need to follow anything rigid, set in stone, but you'll naturally, over the course of that year, start doing better. Not way better, but a little bit better, enough to make a difference. And so if you're skinny fat, by definition, I do believe you have above 25% body fat and you hardly have any muscle. Over the course of that year, you went from perhaps 25% to 20%. If you were at 30%, you might gone down to 25%. You're not seeing night and day dramatic transformations. You're not going to go from being skinny fat to looking like Brad Pitt in Fight Club over that year. But you are going to look better. And looking better should be all that you need to want to keep going. The dopamine release from seeing yourself improving. And so look back to where you were a year ago and see how far you've come and celebrate those changes. And that should be all that you need to fuel your motivation to keep going. Imagine the changes you made in 1 year. What will you now do in the next year? And year after year, you can progressive overload the changes you're making in your mindset, in your training, in your diet. Perhaps in the first year, you only went to the gym 2 days a week. You did a full body workout twice a week. You did the minimum 150 minutes of cardio. Now in year 2, you're going to the gym 3 days a week. Rather than 150 minutes, you're doing 200. Or perhaps instead of walking at 3 miles an hour, you're now walking 3.5 miles an hour. You've become a better butter burner. You're burning more calories in the same length of time. And so although you're still doing 150 minutes of cardio, rather than burning up 300 calories in that hour, you're burning up 400 calories in that hour. The next year, you keep improving. You went from 300 the first year, next year 400, 500, 600, and so on. And perhaps 10 years from now, you'll be burning off 1,000 calories an hour like Coach Greg. Why do you think I can eat so much? It's because I burn off so many calories. I have a lot of muscle, which increases my BMR and my need, as well as I'm doing more cardio than last time. I'm on my bike approximately 6 to 7 hours a week. That is a lot of cardio, and the majority of it is done as either zone 2 or beyond.
Is it the most rapid body transformation you can have? No. but it's the one that'll make the biggest impact shortly after a year.
And so Mike points this out, which is very important. Is this the most dramatic impact you can make in that first year? Is this the best way to make the biggest changes in that first year? The answer is no. But what's beneficial about doing this, of which I'm explaining as well as Mike, is that it's sustainable. Much more important than the most amazing transformation is the one that's the most sustainable. If you can keep doing this year after year, that is what's going to make the biggest difference by far. Do you know how high the dropout rate is for people who join the gym, get into aerobics classes, try different things? The vast majority of people are quitting within a few months. And so what's the point? 95% of diets fail. 19 out of 20 people who try to go from skinny fat to getting ripped, they're going to fail. And so do you know how we increase that percentage? We set realistic goals and expectations, things that you can actually do for the long haul. And that is what breeds success. And so forget making the most amazing transformation. By summer, I'm going to look like Brad Pitt. Yeah, well, even if you get there, you're probably going to lose it a week later. You're going to be miserable, starving, low libido from lower testosterone levels, brain fog, all of it. You're then going to have to buy all these supplements like G-Test to boost your testosterone or harder than last time, literally to get the downstairs harder than last time. And so is it actually worth it? I'm telling you it's not. The reason it's not worth it because most of you are going to fail. How can I sit here in good conscience and tell you to do something that 95% of people are going to fail? What is the point? I'd much rather give you the tools necessary to allow you to lose the weight and keep it off for the rest of your life.
After that, what I recommend is taking about a 12-week fat loss phase.
And so after that point, after you've done this for a year, if you really want to at that point, Mike then suggests you can now go on a cut. Personally, I would suggest you continue to maintain. But if you have a special something that you want to diet down for, perhaps it's a wedding, summertime, a trip down south, you can go on a 12-week cut. And in this cut, try not to lose more than 1 pound a week. Now, I know Sam Sulik is in a 2,000 calorie daily deficit. He's eating 2,500 calories a day. Down from a maintenance of 4,500 calories. This is too much. If you try to do that when you're skinny fat and natural, you're going to lose so much muscle and screw over your metabolism. It's not worth it. To lose 1 pound of fat a week, you need to be in a 500 calorie daily deficit. That is something reasonable that most people can do without losing muscle. And so if you perhaps started your journey at 25% body fat, you're skinny fat, you're now down to 20% body fat, and you do a 12-week cut losing 1 pound a week, you're most likely going to be within the 10 to 15% body fat zone. You've now achieved a ripped physique of which one time, just shortly over a year ago, you were skinny fat. No longer can anyone say you were skinny fat. You are now ripped. You may not have a ton of muscle, but you certainly will not be skinny fat. And what can you do from there? Main gain. Some people say bulk and cut, bulk and cut. My advice, main gain at whatever is a healthy body fat percentage for you. Whether it's 15% body fat or if your genetics are not that great, perhaps it's 20% body fat. But it's a healthy body fat, one of which you're not starving. You have balance in your life. You can still go out and eat with your friends. You can have a good time. Perhaps you even have some drinks on the weekend, but it's not a problem. You're not obsessed. You're not trying to get to single-digit body fat. Your libido hasn't suffered. Your testosterone levels are in the normal range, and you're happy. And guess what? You do this for years. 10 years, 20 years, the rest of your life. And so does that not make sense? Can you not see how health and fitness, joining the gym, lifting weights, doing cardio, eating healthy, can have a dramatic, impactful influence on your entire life?
Now you're looking way different. This is when the people start complimenting you.
And so Mike says at this point, now you're below 15% body fat, very noticeable. You perhaps can see some abs. Not talking about crazy six-pack with veins, but you can see some visible ab marks. You're not skinny fat. You now have an athletic physique. You look like you perhaps play sports. Perhaps you don't look like a bodybuilder, but you look healthy. And what more could you ask for? Now remember, you're getting compliments from other people. Wow, have you lost weight? Look at your abs. I can see some bicep vein. But don't let that get to your head. Use that to fuel you, but do not base your self-worth on your appearance. If you do that, it's a slippery slope to developing body dysmorphia. You lose 1 pound, you get a compliment. Oh, I'll lose another, and another, and another. Pretty soon, you're at 5% body fat. You don't know what to do. There's many examples of this. For example, Tristan Lee. Several athletes with single-digit body fat develop body dysmorphia, and it's very taxing on their mind.
So I'm not into that sort of thing. So I'm just going to maintain and keep lifting 3 or 4 times a week, keep eating fundamentally healthy.
And so Mike is saying exactly what I'm saying. You think we don't see eye to eye. He's literally saying, hey, if you like that, if you're happy, you have confidence, and this is a good look for you, continue to maintain that. Or you can bulk and cut, but he's not saying to get sloppy fat. You don't bulk up to 25% body fat in the offseason, have 40 pounds to lose. It makes no sense.
A lot of folks who have been skinny fat before, they harden up, they diet it off, and then they're pretty fucking chiseled. They are like, oh, I want to be bigger, but I feel like if I try to gain weight, I'll just get really fat again.
And so if you were skinny fat in the past and you're worried about losing that physique, if you do in fact go on a bulk, just do this. Bulk responsibly, bulk slower than last time. Don't gain 10 pounds in a month. It's too much. If you try to gain more than a half to perhaps even 1 pound in a week, the majority of that is going to be body fat. And so slow it down. Small calorie surplus. You, in fact, go on a bulk, you're hoping it'll put on magic amounts of muscle, which it's not going to. But if you want to try it anyway, because you don't believe me, just don't bulk too much. Once the scale has gone up 10 pounds, if you've done that in less than a month, almost the majority of it is going to be fat. And so self-assess. Look in the mirror. Have you gained a significant amount of muscle, or you put on a lot of fat? If you put on more fat than you want, then slow it down. It's simple. Eat fewer calories. Go and do some cardio. Please have balance. And so let me know in the comment section, did this video help? Did you learn something? Interested in any of the supplements, the cookbooks, the Circle diet book, how to lose weight, keep it off for the rest of your life. The training books, have 3 of them. Click the link in the description, code Greg, 10% off. Don't forget about my clothing line as well, the tank tops, hoodies, jogging pants, and so on. Ending it here. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algorithm. Don't forget to like this video. Watch one of the 2 bloops, and until next time, I am out.